want to cut the green ground wire off. There is no need for it, as this motor is already grounded from where it bolts to the lid. Point your wires to the rubber surface when you mount your motor. That way when you put the lid on, the wires will run across the rubber. We're going to install this blade as far down as it will go and then up just a little. Cut the shaft of the motor off or the bearings will fail prematurely. You always want to cover your wires to ensure they don't get sun baked or sun rotted. You can use the old sleeve from the old motor, or you can use a piece of PVC. T&N service. I always start from the back, make sure the grate is onto the underside, work your way around and work your way forward is the easiest. You got to give a little pull and a wiggle. Make sure your wires, when you put the lid back on, make sure your wires come through the right channel right here. The old condenser motor used to plug in here. I'm going to get rid of it completely. That wire completely off. Brown wire just go there. Black wire here. wire method is easy. 2 browns to the capacitor, 2 power legs to the contactor. Just be sure to use your spade push-on terminals. Black wire to one side of power, white wire to the other side. I have them on both sides of the contactor. Black and white to the contactor, 2 browns to the cap. And you're done. That's how you would wire it. Put your amp probe on one of the power legs for the motor when you start it up. Make sure it's not over-amping. So our motor is pulling 0.9 amps. That's well within range. So as long as your motor's not pulling more amperage than its rating, it'll be okay. This motor is spinning. You notice we use washers and nuts. Inside we used a single capacitor because they had already used a single capacitor for the compressor. If this had been a 3-way capacitor, what we would have done is just replaced a new 3-way and wired it a little different. We would have wired it the 3-way wire method. But if you just include an extra capacitor with every motor, like this, you can also just put in another single. So, one thing we have already talked to the homeowner about is cleaning these coils. Because now that the motor's working, that doesn't mean the machine is trouble-free and you're out of the woods. This machine needs a cleaning, and all these rocks down here, in here, they all need cleaned. Look at this. You can't let this happen, or this coil's gonna end up leaking. All those rocks are gonna get under there, and from vibration, it's gonna leak. So, So we got another condenser motor right after that last one, and today we're going to, so this one we're going to show you how to do a 3-wire setup. You always want to use sandpaper and clean that shaft real good, or that blade will never come off. Have your oil ready, a pair of channel locks, and a nice big crescent wrench. On there. Nice. That came off kind of easy, but normally you'd have to use a pair of channel locks and grab it here on the bottom underneath the shaft. That way you don't scar the top of it. If you grab it on top of the wheel or blade, you won't be able to get it off that scar you caused. So you always grab it here and you kind of twist it as you pull up on the motor from the housing. Not the blade. You pull up in the middle as not to bend it, but as you can see today we didn't have to do that.
So
Normally those would be our mounts, but in this particular setup, on this old ream, it's using a side mount method, and so those bottom threads are actually in the way. Think that nut's tight enough? It's not. Give it another spin. And remember, down all the way and up just a little.
you stuff all the wires in here because you want to protect them. Make sure they don't fall up into this blade. So if you're working on the kind of system where your rotation wires will not fit through the chassis or setup that particular brand has provided you, then you can always take a piece of PVC and strap it up and put them in there so they don't get sun dried and sun rotted. T&N services. Now, since we're going to use this new capacitor, I'm going to go ahead and give it a jumper. I'm going to jump one of the legs. It's a common on the other capacitor, which is also jumped over here to this side of power. So we're basically going to have power right here, or one side. So my black wire, I'm going to want to go to the other side of power. I can see that it already is. Good. Brown comes down here to the old capacitor. So we're just going to take that off. And we're going to bring it up here to our new capacitor. And there it is, 3 wires. You just put one here, the brown here, and your common needs one side of the cap and another side of power. And what I did inside is, you know, as you can see, brown to brown. So really all we did is send this brown wire here right to one side of the capacitor, and then we sent this black wire to one side of the contactor. We sent the white wire to the other side of the capacitor, but it's also jumped with the other side of power. And then this white wire, or the brown wire with the white stripe, we just capped it off because essentially it's the same as this white wire. So it gives you the option to wire it 4-wire setup, but it is optional. So that's it for this. got our motor in, wired, ready to check our amp draw. Now we're going to plug this thing in, check rotation and amp draw. Pulling 1.1 amps, 1.0. Moving good heat. Looks like we're done. Okay, now we have a basically factory setup. Nothing's been altered, so this will probably be the most common type. This here is a heat pump, so we'll wire it a little bit different for that. But essentially it wants the same thing. You know, we have the same motor, 4-wire. You can see I've altered it a little bit here though, but pretty much all I did is I capped one of them. I capped the brown wire with the white stripe, and I extended the black wire because it would not reach. Factory wire off the motor wouldn't reach where I need this one to go. So unfortunately I had to extend it, cap it and tape it. Anyway, but you know, we have the same thing here. We have 4 wires, 2 browns, a black and a white. I could put them right to the contactor and 2 to the cap, just like the other video, or just like the last 2. But this way we're going to do it a 3-wire setup, just like the factory. So if you come up to a unit set up just like this, no reason to alter it. You can replace the 3-wire or the 3-way capacitor. You take your wires here, and now you have to understand that the brown wire here with the white stripe is the same as this white wire. They're connected inside. So basically, this is a 3-wire motor also. You have a black, a white, and a brown. These are connected. The factory has put 2 wires here, brown or white stripe, to make it easy for you guys. So you could put 2 browns to the capacitor, 2 to the contactor, and it would turn on, be fine, because internally these are connected. So it's basically doing your jumper for you. That's the thing. So here on a 3-wire setup, since we know these are the same, we can cap one off, and we're going to take our black wire, and we need to get it this side of power, black here, which, since this is a heat pump, instead of putting it here on the contactor, we're going to put it up here on the defrost board. So it can be turned off in defrost and heating mode, but essentially that's just one side of power here for black, just like before. White, we could either put it here on the contactor, or we could put it up here on the capacitor. We'll do that right now because it's jumped. It's the same thing. So now we've picked up our 2 sides of power and also our common on the capacitor. Now we need the brown wire over here to go to the fan terminal of the capacitor so it can pick up its 5 microfarads. So now we've wired this one back to factory. There it is. Anytime you turn on a new motor, as in the first 2 videos, you gotta check your amp draw. Well within range.
With free estimates, cutting-edge technology, and a 100% money-back guarantee, why would you choose anyone else? Las Vegas Air Conditioning.